Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bluesky Education Monday webinars. I'm your host, Lopamudra, Senior Counselor at Bluesky Education. Today, we have with us Ayushi Kundu, an accomplished student of Bluesky. We will be talking about her journey as a law student, the challenges she has faced, and how she has been overcoming the hurdles to eventually becoming a barrister in the UK. Welcome to the session, Ayushi. Ayushi, which year did you go
Thank you very
to?
much.
Which year did you go to pursue LLM law in Queen Mary University of London?
I came here in 2017, and of course, my application was made through Bluesky Education. So I've always been very grateful because of the path that it has led me to today.
Okay. And can you briefly tell us about your experience at Queen Mary University of London? And thereafter, what have you been doing to eventually become a barrister in the UK?
Of course. To begin with, my experience in Queen Mary was wonderful because we were in a classroom with global citizens. There were students who came from every walk of life, from literally every part of the world. Some of my tutors, they were exceptional, absolutely. Because I had a human rights module, one of my tutors, in fact, was a draft member of the drafting committee of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Children. So very experienced, extremely highly educated and wonderful people in the classroom to learn from, not just from the textbooks, but also from their experiences. And of course, that just changed the way I thought and looked at things and made me a lot more open-minded. And from there, it was a different journey. Perhaps we can talk about it slightly later.
Okay, no, I just want to know that thereafter you have been working as a paralegal, right? And you have been trying to secure your pupillage. Can you just briefly tell us what have you been doing thereafter?
I wasn't working as a paralegal at that stage, to be honest with you. I just completed my LLM. And to be honest, because I fell in love with this country for so much that I wanted to stay here for a little longer than a year. Sadly, at that point, we wouldn't get the work visas after our education component ended, which meant that we would need to come back to the country. Because didn't want to do that, I was looking for other opportunities, which is when I realized that I could do another course, which is called the Graduate Diploma in Law.
Right.
It's essentially a conversion course to
Right.
convert my Indian law degree to the UK law
Mhm.
degree. I
Right.
did that and stayed here for another year.
Mhm.
So even then, I was not successful to get a job because the markets have been all along quite difficult for international students to pierce through, if I may say that. Uh,
Okay.
right after that, COVID happened, but before COVID actually happened, um, I had to go back to the country. Shortly after COVID, I got married. Incidentally, my husband was from the UK, so I had a chance to get back now. My route in coming back to the UK and entering the job market here is not directly through education, but because I got a different visa as a spouse visa, so that enabled
Okay.
me to come back here and take up a role as a paralegal.
Okay.
And then I decided to do the bar course as well because just after having done the GDL, there were two routes available to me to either qualify as a solicitor or a barrister, and I
Right.
always wanted to be a barrister, so that's what I chose.
Okay. So, why do you decide to study in the UK, and how has that shaped your career path?
Um, I think the decision to study in the UK was not entirely mine. In fact, didn't really have such exalted aspirations, if I may say that. My parents wanted me to have some exposure by living beyond my own city, which is Kolkata, and I realized that was a good plan. I never objected to coming abroad, of course. So that was primarily the reason, and why the UK as opposed to any other country. I would suppose that's uh, because I studied law, and the law in the UK is very similar to, or rather, the law in India has
Right.
been heavily adapted from the
True.
UK. So it
Very
just
true.
made sense that it would be more relatable. And
Right.
of course, the plan was never to stay back here, but always thought that I would be going back and continuing with the practice in India. So I thought
Okay.
UK would be the best country to come to. As I said earlier, the course of my career path really changed once I was here. So, and that I've never really had to look back, except for the few years that I was in India after completing my GDL. At that stage, I did continue working as an advocate at the Calcutta High Court.
Okay.
And it's not been easy ever since I came back here either, because it's not very easy, even with a spouse visa, to get a job
Right.
here, simply because of how bad the job market is.
Mhm.
But thankfully, I have a job now, so that has been very helpful in achieving my goals.
Okay. How did studying in the UK help you develop professionally and personally?
First of all, studying in the UK has been very different to studying in India, simply because of the way education is approached in this country. When I was doing my LLM, I realized the teachings were not just textbook based. You were expected to do a lot of background studies and research before you went into the classroom. And the classrooms were essentially discussion based, and everybody was encouraged to give an input on whatever the topic was that we were learning about that day. And we were never judged for having a very stupid opinion or something that was wrong. In discussions were encouraged, and you were just encouraged to put your thoughts across on whatever issue we were talking about. I think that really built a sense of confidence in us, and changed the way we thought and spoke about things. It didn't make us feel inhibited, and did not limit us in the opinions we had about matters. So personally, I felt that was a moment of growing, because of the new ways I was learning and picking up things on a discussion based basis, and not just from by reading from textbooks. Professionally as well, it's played a great role, because I suppose the whole approach to how we work and learn things is very different here as opposed to in India. In India, it has at least my experience has been that you always have to complete a certain section of the syllabus, and think, be bound by a syllabus in general, and not really go beyond certain textbooks, etc. But here, learning is very widely encouraged, and even at work professionally, you are expected to have a lot of background knowledge on what you are doing, even if you're just
Right.
working at a paralegal basic role.
Okay.
So that, of course, has changed the way I do things these days.
Okay. Now, some students worry about the cost of studying in the UK. Do you think it is worth it studying in the UK?
Well, I can't talk about every stream, but I
Right.
will say about the legal sector. Uh, the thing is, I personally am a person who likes to
It is
have
in
at least
progress.
the plan for the next 5 years before me. Uh, what that helps me do is plan effectively my finances, and then align my goals accordingly. Uh, I appreciate that not everybody can be the same, and a lot of people make impulsive decisions to study abroad, etc. But I suppose studying abroad is always a very calculated decision when it comes to it. Um, my point being, I think people need to figure out what they eventually want to do after having studied abroad. For example, if you're in law, as I said earlier, I'm just talking about the legal sector here. If you're in law, you need to understand whether you want to do counsel practice, or you want to work at a firm, or if there's something else. If you want to go into academics, or let's say policy making, there are all these different options available to you. Certainly, an LLM from abroad would be really beneficial if you were going into academics or even policy working. Even firms appreciate you a lot more. And I don't necessarily agree with these firms, but somehow your value is enhanced if you have the stamp of a foreign degree on your CV. Having said that, if you're someone like me who always intended to work as a counsel, I think an LLM would not necessarily be helpful. Whereas um, you must know that if you'd like to do counsel practice, it is a lot of struggle initially. There's no concept of work life balance. You'll have to slog, work very difficult hours, work a lot, and still get paid very little or nothing at all. So perhaps you might want to use that money instead towards supporting your own self in those initial years. And then if you feel that you still need a degree from abroad, you can always go for it. I personally never felt that my LLM assisted me when I did counsel practice in India, although it did help me in a lot of other ways in general. So it's essentially planning out your career goals so intrinsically, so you know what the end goal is and why you feel that a foreign degree is crucial to achieve that goal. I think it's just important that people work that path out for themselves.
Okay. How do international students manage jobs after graduation in the UK?
Again, I can only speak about the legal sector because
Right,
my
sure.
understanding and knowledge
Yes,
about every other
no
area is
problem.
minimum. And I'm sorry to disappoint whoever's listening. It's a very bad market, and that's not because international students have less merit. In fact, in my opinion, international students have a lot more life experiences that are perhaps easier to transfer to the job market. The problem is more a bureaucratic one because
Okay.
companies who are hiring
Mhm.
would rather compromise with the talent and not have to sponsor the work visa for taking on an international student, and instead perhaps divert that fund towards training a slightly lesser talented workforce. So it's essentially a story that comes down to that. That's not to say that no international student ever gets a job. I do know of a few people who have gotten work experiences or paralegal roles. Most of these have been limited to the time that they had a visa to continue living in the country till even after the course finished. And I hardly know of anyone who's actually been able to stay on and have a company sponsor them. But as I said, things do work out for some people. Some people do manage to get those coveted sponsorships, but those are the rare exceptions that actually happen. And I would encourage and not I would hope that whoever's listening to this would not take this as discouragement, but I would really encourage you to look at the job market, study about it before you make your plans of coming here, because as I said, those examples of people who actually manage to stay on are really rare, and it doesn't work out for most people no matter how talented you are. um, so you need to be realistic about what your hopes and aspirations are.
Okay. What motivated you to like study law and eventually become a barrister in the UK? What was the motivation?
Um, it's it's a question I find very difficult to answer because everybody, and I don't want to go into names,
Mhm.
everybody in my family is a lawyer, including my
Okay.
parents.
Okay. That
Really,
explains
that's the
it.
only profession I
Yeah.
have ever been exposed to. And at a very young age, I knew this is probably something I want to be and I will be. And that very simply explains my motivation to study law. And honestly, I never considered becoming anything else. I never
Mhm.
had any backup options
Mhm.
to do any other jobs or pursue any other professions. So I think my birth chart led me here.
Yes.
And
Yes. Your family genes, I guess.
yes, of course. And in terms of becoming a barrister, well, that obviously was a plan that came up later on in my life after I came to the UK. As I said, I stayed here, did my LLM, I did the GDL, and then obviously I had to choose one of the routes of either becoming a solicitor or a barrister. But the reason I chose to become a barrister, because a lot of people, again, I'm just going to break this down a little bit. A lot of people do not actually understand the difference between a solicitor and a barrister. Effectively, a barrister is someone who goes to the court and, in very simple terms, argues the case before the judge, represents the client at court hearings, whereas solicitors are those people who prepare the case in the background. So they are the ones who prepare all the paperwork, they file the applications and cases with courts, etc. This distinction is still there in Calcutta as opposed to many other cities in India. People in Calcutta tend to know this a lot more than people I've met from, let's say, Bombay, Delhi, etc. They don't really understand the distinction between a barrister and a solicitor. So coming back to myself, because I had to choose a route, and I was someone who always really wanted to be on my feet, argue, um, uh, be in the courtroom. That's why I chose to become a barrister. And it's been a very long journey. It's not happened all one after the other. I've just only finished my bar course. I'm still awaiting my results for the bar course, and I'm still waiting to get a pupillage, because even those are notoriously difficult to obtain.
Yes, very competitive. Yeah.
Yes, so I hope I'll get there sooner
Yes,
than
yes,
later.
definitely
But
will.
yes, so but now it's just about taking each day as it comes, really.
Right. What are the career opportunities in law for international students in the UK? You can elaborate.
I Again, I do not want to sound negative, but um, I understand that the visa rules are going to change once again. But if you are one of those luckier ones who can still get a work visa after your course has ended, um, I think there are a lot of opportunities. First of all, you can work like I do. You can easily take up a paralegal role. It's difficult to get those. It's not going to come to you in a platter. You will have to work hard. You will have to, let's say, for example, just blindly send your CVs and cover letters to firms. Maybe it's probably not done as much these days, but maybe even try and go into these firms and see if they have a vacancy, and if there are firms that are willing to offer you at least work experiences for a few days or months, even if it's not a permanent position. Sometimes the smaller firms will probably take you on because they always need a helping hand. The pay may not be as great always, but it's always worth it to get any sort of experience that you can and add that to your CV, because every little bit counts, and you learn something or the other from every place, no matter how long that experience is for. There are some other sectors. For example, if you'd like to become a barrister like I did, you can always complete mini pupillages with the chambers here, or you can do what are known as vacation schemes with law firms in the country, depending on which area of law you want to pursue. It's always easier. It's the vacation schemes and mini pupillages can be competitive. It's not impossible to get them. There are quite a few opportunities there as well. But if you really want to learn work hands-on, I would always encourage that you approach smaller high street firms, because they would have a lot more work and a lot more opportunities, even for temporary staff, to take on and learn from.
Is the legal market in the UK very competitive for the international students?
It is extremely competitive and probably impossible for international students to get into,
Okay.
primarily because, and this is my personal opinion, maybe others may disagree. I feel the legal sector in the UK is one of their ancient professions. They've always, especially the bar, is a very protected part of the profession in this country, and they do not necessarily like to open it up, even though it is really opening up. There are a lot more people in this profession now from every walk of life, from every part of the world. And the opportunities are not as much as one would like, and because of the things I explained earlier about the bureaucracy, it's very difficult to actually find a firm or a chamber that would support your visa application and sponsor your visa, and they would rather just take people on from here locally who already have the work permit to be able to take up work in this country, and then spend that money on training them instead of having to sponsor an international student's visa. Primarily, those are the reasons. It's not about the talent, as I said earlier as well. I think international students are really talented to be able to come here and stay abroad and get really learn so much in a year's time. But nobody should try and take this personally, but it's just the market that's very saturated, first of all, and very unwelcoming to international students in that sense.
So, what advice do you have for the, Indian students who are interested to pursue law or related careers in the UK?
I think it's a very important decision that you are making about coming to the UK to study law. It's a wonderful country to be in and to get some experience and life learnings from. I would thoroughly encourage you that you do explore this opportunity if you can. There are limitless opportunities. You can apply for scholarships and other forms of funding to be able to come to this country and go about with your studies. If you do manage to come here, you will thoroughly enjoy living in this country. It can get gloomy, the weather is not loved by everyone, but you just meet so many different people, and there is so much of opportunities for you to explore and dive into that. A year just passes in the blink of an eye, and you will absolutely love your experience here, and I can guarantee that to you. So yes, and you will have Blue Sky Education to support your goals, so please make that venture and come in here.
Okay. So, how did Blue Sky Education support you during your journey to study in the UK?
They literally took off the whole burden off my shoulders. I didn't have to do anything. So they made all my applications and even assisted me for the visa application once I got the offer letter from Queen Mary. But more towards the start, they would guide me with what the paperworks were that were required, what recommendations, what was it called, the statement about
Statement of
yourself,
purpose.
etc.
Yes.
Yes, statement of purpose,
Purpose.
everything they assisted with at every stage. Even the statement that we wrote about ourselves, if it wasn't good enough, they would make us revise and make sure that it was worth sending to the university. And then one fine morning, I just opened my email and I'm informed that I've been accepted to a Russell Group University. That was the best
Yes.
feeling to wake up to. And as I said, later on, while I was preparing to leave for the UK, they assisted us with understanding what were the necessary things that we needed to be aware of and carry with us. They assisted us with the visa application as well. I remember Shomrat sir accompanying us to the Rennie Towers, it was at that
Many
point
towers.
where
Yes.
we needed to apply for the visa. He actually even came along with us.
Okay.
Um, for the visa application, just to give us that support and comfort. And then I think even once we arrived to the UK, there was this ongoing support and assistance to help us with anything we found difficult about. And if there were any questions we had about things we needed to submit to the university, for example, they would always be around to answer questions and help us. So it's been an incredible opportunity, and I'm glad I asked Mohashitanti to help, and I got the support of Blue Sky Education because this has really changed my life afterwards.
Okay. And how did Blue Sky help you to build your career path? Could you just a few lines on that?
I think Blue Sky, because they did this application for me and they managed to get me to the UK, they not just built my career path, they literally altered it and altered my life plans, if I may say that. As I said earlier, I was always hoping to just do the LLM and go back to my country after a year and continue working there. But that changed thoroughly, and I suddenly decided that I wanted to remain here and do something here. And I've almost become a barrister. I still can't say I am a barrister yet. So that's all thanks to Blue Sky. It's because it's because they got me into this prestigious university at Queen Mary that my experiences about my view about life changed, and I have not had to look back at all. So I'm very, very grateful once again.
So, and what suggestions do you have for students who are considering Blue Sky Education and their study abroad journey for the study abroad journey? What advice do you have for them?
My only advice is you can close your eyes and have a good rest while you entrust Blue Sky Education to get to get support with your applications, because they do literally everything for you. All you need to prepare for is your life abroad once they have secured your a place in one of these prestigious universities that you wish to study in, and they will assist you all along the journey and leave very little work for you, because they literally take everything on their own shoulders to assist the students who have chosen them. And I feel that because at least when I first approached Blue Sky, they were a much smaller company than various other providers who do the same business. So you have a lot more undivided attention from the staff who are assisting with your application, and you have very hands-on support as well. So uh, please use their services. They are very approachable. They are very nice, sweet, helpful people, and they literally leave nothing for you to worry about. As I said, from my own story, if you'd like to draw a leaf, all I had to do was write that statement of purpose, and then one fine morning, I've got this offer from. Unconditional offer from Queen Mary University, and literally I had nothing more to do. So that's obviously what I hope each of you will get an opportunity to see and wake up to as well, like I did, because it was the most exciting journey for me, and I hope it will be for you too. And of course, Blue Sky is there to support your dreams.
Thank you so much, Ayushi, for your precious time, and wish you all the best for all your future endeavors from the entire team of Blue Sky. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I could share my experiences.
Thank you.